So welcome everyone to Still and Moving Center's Gems from the Wisdom Traditions, a conversation circle, which we have been carrying on for ever since I think April of 2020. When we could no longer meet together in person, all of a sudden we discovered we could start meeting together as a whole world. And that's been a lovely discovery. Our topic today is in honor of Mahatma Gandhi, whose birthday we always celebrate on October 2nd. And so with his focus on nonviolence, we're looking at the topic of health and nonviolence. And we have the most excellent speaker to address us, to start our conversation. This is Winalee Zeeb. She is a longtime friend of Still and Moving Center, right from the beginning and before it even came into existence. She is a NIA teacher trainer. She takes care of the whole human being, body, mind, emotions, and spirit, or self. And she comes from a really deep and rich healing background, starting from the way that she was taught as a little girl, and then going through a number of different trainings and life experiences that have made her someone who I feel almost as healed being in her presence. I think that those of you who have spent time with Winalee will agree that she sets our nervous system at ease, and she just allows there to be a flow that is very conducive to health. So I'm going to let Winalee tell you a little bit more about the different traditions or places from which she's done her learning. I'm just giving it over to Winalee, if you'd be so kind.
Cliff's here. How lovely. Oh, so wonderful to be here, Renee. Thank you so much. I was just sharing with my husband how meaningful it is to me to be asked to share. And Renee and I do go quite far back, and I really consider Renee to be a heart sister of mine, and I am sensing those that are on this call feel the same. Her amazing ability to hold and nurture and also celebrate the gifts that each amazing being brings Still and Moving Center is just an amazing thing for me to witness. So when she asked me, I was thrilled and excited and said, of course. And then we giggled due to the fact that it's 9:05 at night and my bedtime is 10. But don't worry, I'm awake. And we laughed about that. I love to laugh. I love to bring humor in. That's how I was raised. And it, I know, is a conduit to health for me in lightness of being and celebrating whatever is. And that, in fact, I thought I was to begin at 9:30. So another element of surprise. Yet, as the dolphins have taught me from our scuba business and being so at home in water, is to flow with what is. When Renee invited me, she shared a quote that's by Gandhi for celebrating the birthday about nature and relationship with nature. So I wanted to begin with breath and stillness, and or those, I know several of you, if you would like to move with me, just seated with breath and gesture, a way of centering and appreciating exactly where our whole being is in this now. And this is one of Ram Dass's, before he passed and soared free of form. I've been studying a 21-day Ram Dass course, and tomorrow is the 21st day. So I really wanted to bring this in, and it's entitled Nature. So sit comfortably, and if you would like to follow with me, how's the volume? Is that okay? Let's breathe in and out.
Trees, grasses, water, sun, stars, moon, clouds, rain, all are our friends, are us. Nature embraces us, and we embrace nature. We are nature. We are the trees and the clouds and the waters. When you hug a tree, you're hugging yourself. We are human beings. Human beings are part of nature. When you're seeing the ocean or the lake or the river, you're seeing yourself. Nature is a manifestation of God. In that manifestation is love all the way.
Thank you, Ram Dass and East Forest. Beautiful recording. And I felt inspired to share another quote by Ram Dass as I've been studying with people that studied with him for decades. His quote, "Acting with compassion is not doing good because we think we ought to. It is giving ourselves into what we are doing and being present in the moment. It is acting from our deepest understanding of what life is and not compromising the truth. What life is, our deepest understanding." And I realized, as Renee had asked me, and she spoke with me about all the times I have sat with her and we have shared story after story. I love story. I love learning from story. I love learning other people's story. And I realized I was raised in a love bubble. A love bubble. I didn't know what I didn't know until I knew I didn't know. And I'm the baby of 5 girls. I was raised in a little town in Michigan, and I didn't know. I thought everybody was raised like I was raised. Baby. My oldest sister, although she doesn't appreciate I call her that, is 12 years older than me. So there was quite a span of years. So by the time my parents got around to how the household was managed for the wholeness of the home, the wholeness of each one of us, they had learned a lot. And what I realize now on my ongoing journey, lifelong learning, I have been in a university of studying from so many amazing beings in these last 2 years since I've been home. I have signed up for everything I wanted to study. And what I've realized from my sisters is there was a lot I didn't know about what my parents consciously chose to share with me so that I was raised in a love bubble. I never knew that until this last year. So I've recently discovered that they made very mindful steps for a home of health and wholeness of each being, and that truth was our guide and love was our guide. So my studying with Ram Dass right now, and his studying with how do you say that name from India? My dear Renee, Maharaji, thank you. Who told Ram Dass, love everybody and tell the truth. Love everybody and tell the truth. I realized that teaching from his guru really was what my mom and dad taught me. And in every way that they modeled, by the time they got to the baby, who figured everyone was raised like that, was we had family meetings once a month, and we passed a talking stick. So every month there was an opportunity to be listened to. There were agreements around that talking stick, and when you held it, everyone agreed to listen without interruption. And fast forward to my sharing of Nia's communication tools. I thought everyone learned how to listen due to my love bubble and not interrupt. So that was a natural, ongoing share from me. And then I learned and discovered differently, and so appreciate the mindfulness of what, as my parents were ready then, I was a surprise 5 years after my next eldest sister, they made conscious choices. It's never too late to make conscious choices. The monthly meetings, the opportunity to not be interrupted and be heard. And then on top of that, they were both had amazing leadership skills, and their leadership skills were all about equality, true equality. And we had caper charts. They were posted, and everybody had duties, and they always cycled. So you didn't always have to clean the bathroom. It was fair and equitable. And so I was also raised in a way of accountability and account of community, accountable community. And then I realized as I looked at it when Renee asked me how I also witnessed them share that with the community, not just our family, but the community. My father was mayor. I saw, as I really looked out at the rippling, and I came across another quote by Dalai Lama. And I love the topic of health and nonviolence and all that's related to that on so many levels and so many teachers, as in all of you. And this was read at, my husband and I recently celebrated our 40th 40th. How did that happen? Wedding anniversary. And this was shared by the Dalai Lama. We need to take action to develop compassion, to create inner peace within ourselves, to share that inner peace with our family and friends. Peace and warm-heartedness can then spread through the community just as ripples radiate across the water when you drop a pebble into a pond. Peace and warm-heartedness. Health, nonviolence, peace, and warm-heartedness can then spread through the community just as ripples radiate out across the water when you drop a pebble into a pond. When I heard that read at our anniversary celebration of love, my love bubble continued. So grateful for my husband and our journey together in that love. As I realized that's what my parents modeled. And they've been gone for some time now, yet they live through me and they're right here on my table. This is my picture of my mom and dad. And I, what is most meaningful to me, I keep at my Zoom desk to inspire me. What is meaningful and real and true to me, and I call on their love all the time, their guidance, and their conscious mindfulness. They never told me a story about their wounds as I was developing. And now I've had long conversations with my sisters as my study of epigenetics with Milagros Phillips I've been taking and studying her Healing Racism in her latest book, which is called Cracking the Healer's Code, all about understanding and going deeper with my heritage and my grandparents and my great-grandparents, 7 generations, to heal what I didn't know about, what I never knew was held in their DNA, and the science behind that. And in this health and nonviolence, even though I was raised in a love bubble, I still had this pull and this ache of, I don't understand. And so as I have been awakened to more and more truth, this beautiful message to Ram Dass, love everybody and tell the truth. To be on that journey together and to be in Milagros Phillips lesson after lesson every Monday. The space held to listen to one another no matter what was spoken. And I know that happens at Still and Moving. I've experienced it. And how grateful I am to that and for that. I've witnessed the community, the meals shared, all of her beautiful quotes that are woven through all of the classes and all of the varied myriad ways of expanding our awareness here, of being energy and form. So I feel deeply, deeply blessed and deeply grateful to share that. Even though I was raised in a love bubble, I am here to learn and to also unfold and reveal what I didn't know, layer by layer, piece by piece, for my wholeness of body, mind, emotion, spirit, my being, and my connection to those ripples in my own heritage. I love this quote in Milagros' book as well by Elena Avila. I pronounced her last name correctly, Avila. I love this quote. Sometimes the longest journey we make is the 16 inches from our heads to our hearts. And Milagros Phillips has that quote in her recent book called Cracking the Healer's Code. And I love that quotation. And I feel that in a way, I reverse that. My love bubble started at my heart. And then I journeyed to cognitive understanding of what I didn't understand in the world and how I reflect when my parents built this home I was raised in. It was the only home I knew. They built it right before I was born, and they built a pool, and it happened to be summer in Michigan. So as an infant, I was in the pool, and I actually have a body memory of that. My mom, it was an ivory soap kickboard. She held me on with the sun. I can recapitulate it in every cell of my body, rocking me and singing to me in the shallow end of that pool. And I feel it, every cell of my being. And what I realized through my journey of healing is that my earliest memories are water. And my home was being under. I wanted to go under as a baby, under. And I've always been uncomfortable speaking. I know that's challenging for some of you that know me and have been around me. Now I speak. Yet growing up, I didn't. I never spoke. I never raised my hand. I might know the answer, but I would never raise my hand. I never asked questions. I listened. And I realized that my home is the water. Literal, yeah, embryo. I love the water. I love the womb room. And I also love to be a holder. So in me getting to know me, I love to listen to other people's stories. And by Renee asking me, I got to really appreciate my own and see that. And see and understand that my truth is, sometimes I've had people say to me, I need to hear you, Winalee, at meetings. You never say anything. You don't speak up. Like, this is who I am. I'm holding a love bubble. That's what I feel I was born to do. And for me, this health and this compassionate conditioning is to open and expand that there are so many ways to serve. It doesn't look one way, and I know I'm preaching to a choir here at Still and Moving Center, yet I know even in my own circle in Nia, I hear it over and over when I'm at the higher trainings and I'm not teaching them. Winalee, I need to hear your voice. This is my voice. and I feel that it's speaking. So if you go diving with me, you'll feel that underwater, like behind Renee's when we were paddleboarding and we saw the turtle. There are no words. There is huge communication. Slow down, right? So that's my closing message is that I feel, and in my love bubble, what I learned is there are infinite ways of what is meaningful, rich, and true to each of us in our own knowing of our health and well-being and wholeness. And I feel this non-violent piece that Gandhi clearly taught, the listening with compassion and love everybody and tell the truth. Maharishi.
Aw. Mahalo, Winalee. Aw.
Mahalo nui loa.
Well, you are indeed a beautiful listener, and I think it may be exactly for that reason that so many people find you to be healing when they are in your presence, because there is something about each of us being truly heard that heals so much psychologically and at a soul level. There's a certain violence almost involved in not knowing how to listen to someone else. And when we don't know how to listen to ourselves, to our bodies, to our minds, to our emotions, we end up not being able to take the kind of care of our body, minds, and emotions that we really need to, because we don't know how to listen, let alone have the openness to listen to others. Yeah. So thank you for that beautiful message. And I do want to say that love can be translated into Gandhi's concept of nonviolence called ahimsa, is like active love. And the two things that were most important to Gandhi were ahimsa and sat, which is like this active love, and truth. So you hit the nail on the head. Does somebody else want to ask a question of Winalee, or were you inspired to share something of your own in regard to this idea of health? And we're obviously talking about more than just physical health, health of us as whole human beings that are very interrelated to everyone and everything else in the world. Is there something you'd like to ask or comment on? Cliff.
Hello over there, Winalee.
Hey, Cliff.
Good to see you. I really enjoyed everything you said.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed also the meditation from Ram Dass.
Mhm.
And I guess my question is a little bit about that meditation. I recently heard an interview with this fellow named Richard Powers, who wrote the book Overstory about trees, the novel about trees.
Mm.
And apparently he just wrote another novel called Bewilderment, which is kind of, I think, I haven't read either of these novels. Sarah's reading Overstory, is about our relationship with nature. And in the interview, it made me rethink some things about our modern views of nature that come from maybe a misunderstanding of Darwin's theories that nature is red in tooth and claw. In other words, it has a law of violence in it. And I think I'm not sure, I haven't studied Darwin deeply, but I think that's a mistaken interpretation of Darwin's teachings on evolution. But this Richard Powers is saying that no, in nature, there's more, even between predator and prey, there's more of a dance of balance and harmony. There's more at work, a law of sacrifice and compassion. And so I was wondering if, from your experience in the understory of the ocean, what your experiences have been since you spent so much time in the water and under the water about this idea of nonviolence or compassion as being a law of nature.
Oh, what beautiful insights, Cliff. Thank you. I'm so amazed by you always, and how your insatiable reading and learning and growing. My experience of many, 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 many log dives all over this amazing blue-green planet, different types of environments, is complete harmony, really, truly complete harmony. And I have never, not one time, felt fearful. I have been in the middle of a school of hammerhead sharks. And I have been, we've seeked out dive sites with various tigers and all kinds of sharks off Coco Island and Costa Rica to simply observe nature. And I have had a hammerhead right over me, swimming with me, almost like a cleaning fish, and never even knew it was there. Other divers saw it. We were apparently together. I never knew it, never looked up. And yet, such harmony. And of course, with the people that I had dolphin encounters with, very conscious, mindful people, always had us meditate first, had us clear, no expectation, no intention. We are going into their home, honor these beings. If we go in with that intent, we are likely to have an encounter that is amazing. So I always have brought that to, and always, like the turtle, moved very slowly, if or stopped, to allow nature to move around me and then have encounters. Unbelievable encounters by doing that. Not swimming after anything, not chasing anything, simply being with. And all I've experienced is harmony. All I've experienced is, and after Nemo, everything started talking to me. I could hear all kinds of voices. Hey, dude. And I would giggle. And I also feel like Ram Dass's humor that I've received through this 21 day. Oh my gosh, I love his sense of humor. And that's what when I would bring that feeling and emotion, my energy into the ocean, that's what I got back. Complete mirror back. I don't care what was present with me. Playful, just like a cat or a dog. It's all energy. And everything's alive and vital. And I was always able to see more, experience more, have more encounters, and have been so blessed with that. So absolute, all I ever experienced was harmony. Have I seen feedings? Yes. And then, it's like a moment, and then everything goes on. No different than at the table. And then everything flows on. And just this flow state is what I've experienced diving.
Ah, Sarah, it looks as though you may have a comment or question for Winalee.
Yeah, all of the comments really just really inspired that global view of us in harmony with nature and how that is peace. And it reminded me, Cliff's question and then your reply reminded me, I think recently I read that in New Zealand, they just gave a large forest area the rights of a human. And it's the first time that that's ever been done, that they're acknowledging there's life force here that's not below us. It's not something we need to classify in a violent way. It's kind of how we treat much of nature. It does come out quite violent. And it was just beautiful to see that we're stepping, in some places, we're stepping in a beautiful direction.
Oh yeah, I've certainly seen that, Sarah. Yeah, totally. Thank you. And of course, my cat just came in. Says, yeah, bring it on. Yes, absolutely. Time and time again, I'm blessed to witness that. It's not often on the news. Yet, I certainly have experienced it. Isn't that right, Charlie? He's looking at me like, yeah, talk some more about that. Right?
And that certainly conduces to the health of the planet.
Yeah.
when we begin to have those kinds of acknowledgements of the beings that inhabit this world with us. It's just like one part of our body can't be unhealthy without affecting the whole of the body. So as long as the earth is out of balance and we're not caring for it, it's not healthy. And so we can't really be either. It's so interconnected, isn't it? And so all these little contributions that we make as human beings conduce to the health of the whole. Since we are actually so powerful in the effect that we can have on nature. We've seen that. And we tend to focus on, I think, the negative effects that we've had, for example, extinctions that have been mentioned in the paper recently. And I don't think we acknowledge as profoundly the positive effects that we can have on nature as well. And in India, they say that the mountains are created by the meditations of the wise ones. Yeah. So when we go into nature, into the ocean, and we bring this positive, strong energy, what are we doing for nature? It must be very regenerative, given how much consciousness that we hold.
Pretty extraordinary, I'll tell you that. And Renee, in harmony with that share of, yes, honestly, we tend to go to very remote locations, and people are so conscious and so mindful and so caring about their ocean environment. There is so much mindfulness and protection to the reefs and to the marine life. And I have gone to a location that Ron and I have dove in and seen algae and no fish, very little aliveness, and gone back 5 years later and seen it teeming. The body, the ocean body's ability to rejuvenate and regenerate is profound when there is consciousness and care brought to it, just like this body. Yeah. And it's just filled me to see that.
David.
There are several things that were said that remind me of an experience I had on the Big Island, receiving my first cranial session. And I had done a trade with someone who was a cranial therapist there, gave her a massage, and then she turned around and gave me a cranial session. And there was a point near the end when she was just holding my head with the light fingertips around my skull. And then suddenly I was transported to Oz, might as well have been, some magical place that was another place, and it was timeless. When I came to, I had no idea how long it had been. And it had only been 15 minutes, but it felt like it could have been lifetimes. And I felt so light and so balanced. I know that my nervous system was completely reset, but my whole body just felt alive, aware, relaxed, and I was blown away. So I went to her and I said, what did you just do? Because it was pure magic. And this is the only training that I've had in it, and I've been able to replicate it in my work. She said, I listened to you through my fingertips. And I think I was in such a place that that was really the only training that I needed in that technique, because I was immediately able to pass it on as well. And it was simply a matter of paying so much attention to what's going on with the person that I'm connecting with, feeling the various rhythms of their heartbeat and their respiration and the cerebral spinal fluid and the movements of the body in my fingertips. And I'm convinced that it is the pure act of listening, paying close attention, that allows that person to go wherever it is they need to go to have that healing. I get goosebumps even just reliving the experience. And people report to me that it is profound for them. They have sometimes no way to even express where they've been. You know, I think that dis-ease is anywhere where the flow of life force itself, prana, chi, life force, anytime it is constricted is where the problems arise. And if we can stay in flow, it's why dancers are so healthy, right? We just flow. And through that flow, physically, mentally, and emotionally, life force happens through us. And I think our natural state is perfect health.
Beautifully said, David. Beautiful. Touching.
Yeah.
Touching, ha.
How about Sandra? Can you tell us about some experience or thought that you've had? I know you've been working with healing bowls, sound healing.
Just listening to everybody, it's just amazing. I have known you all, most of you, for over the years, you know, and just to hear you, all these beautiful reflections. I mean, David, just what you told me about that listening and it was like, what? I want to know more about that. That sounds amazing. And you were, Winalee, just talking about yourself as a listener. I mean, that's really you know, I guess my language also. So to hear you express that, really, like you said, there's so many languages and we're learning so many things about how trees communicate and how the mushroom, the mycelia or whatever, you know, communicates throughout the whole forest. And, you know, how I just saw a documentary just recently, another new one about how we are this couple, I forget the name of it, it was on Apple TV, but this group of female scientists had actually produced recordings and they were trying to get communication established with whales. And it was very, very exciting. And then they were able to establish some direct kind of like interaction. So I think we're just scratching the surface on all the different ways of communicating and how beings communicate. And even ourselves, you know, it's not always about talking with words, it's like expression, listening, receiving. That's not always verbal. You just expressed it so beautifully. I'm glad you're recording this because I want because it's late for me too. So a lot of times I don't tune in to these, and now I just listening of, oh my gosh, aren't you tuning in every week?
Thank you so much, Sandra. And, you know, one of Nia's teachings of listening, I know Debbie would love me to share, is that also applies when I speak. I listen. 2/3, 1/3 speak. So turtle again. Slow down. Wait. Especially in that compassionate container when that's needed, to hold a loving space no matter what may appear is to slow down when I am the speaker and listen before I speak. So the listening through the hands, the healing hands, before I speak as well. Yeah. Thank you, Sandra. It's so fun to see all of you.
It seems as though it would be very appropriate for us to allow everyone here to have a chance to truly be listened to. Of course, one can always opt out. However, it does feel really good to be listened to. So I wonder if we could somehow pass the speaking stick, and even if your screen is not lit up, I feel that you are listening, and you're very welcome to speak, whether your screen is on or it's off. Of course, we love to see you, and it's fine if we just hear your voice. So let's see. Put up your hand if you're willing to speak. Put your little, there's a little thing that the reaction buttons, it's the bottom right reaction button. Put up your I'm willing to speak at some point hand, raised hand. Sharon?
Sure. Winalee, I love that when you did the movements with us, with Ramadas, I moved along with it. And it also made me realize how much I miss Renee, because I used to do it with Renee at the Y. But that's also speaking to your body and movement, because it goes deeper than just, waving. You feel it inside of you a lot. So thank you so much for starting us off that way. I mean, I really enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you.
Mari?
Hello. I really enjoyed the movement and what you're saying about different ways of listening and communication. And I was thinking how there's different ways of listening and different ways of communicating and speaking. And just this morning, my husband was talking about his great grandfather and how he didn't speak very much. And he kind of thought he wasn't listening to him, but now he realizes he really was, because certain things would like magically appear if he found out he enjoyed them. Suddenly this certain thing would be in the refrigerator more. Or one time when he was very small, he ate some corn and enjoyed it so much that the next planting season, his great grandfather planted a whole row of corn right close to the window so he could see it and enjoy it. So I think just because someone may listen in a different way that may not feel to us like they're listening, they pick up energetically. And I think the same thing happens with other creatures. I don't think it's just people. And then as far as speaking, yeah, and I think movement is, at least for me, sometimes that's a way for me of accessing something that wants to be spoken that's inside of me. And I won't necessarily know what it is until I start moving. And then it feels like something is flowing through me that wants to speak, but it's not necessarily what I identify with as me sometimes. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful, Mari.
Is that Carol next? And we have
Yes.
Mary after Carol.
Hi, guys. So this is very relevant for me in the area of horse therapy. I am a childhood raised Western rider, grew up on a ranch, we cattled, and 95% of what the language exchanged between a person and a horse is completely nonverbal. There's a certain universal language that riders know, that lean in and listen to it. Every saddle does the same kind of function, even though they look different. Different tack communicates differently to your animal. So for me, that language is just, it's beyond measure of being able to explain when you're on a creature that could potentially hurt you or harm you if you don't respect their language. So completely relevant to me in that way.
Mahalo, Winalee, and thank you. I feel your love bubble whenever I've seen you at Still and Moving Center, and I love you.
I love you too.
Oh, when you were talking about swimming with the animals, and I was thinking about how we give off energy, and depending on the type of energy that we have, we either attract good or we attract the other element. And having just a calm exterior and a calm interior is so blessed. And what you said about meditating, and before you go into the water, into the ocean, into the forest, it just sets a tone. So mahalo.
Mahalo. Thank you so much. Yay, Cliff got his hand up.
I really like, Winalee, the way you guided this conversation into the idea of listening, listening deeper. I was thinking of this quote I heard once, and that if we truly trusted our neighbors, 2/3 of the world's violence would go away. And this idea of trusting and listening, they seem to go together somehow, that we put up barriers, I think, to other people. We don't, in other words, we don't listen to them because, I don't know, it might be fears or something like that. But what I think was Carol was saying about trusting a horse and having that deeper relationship with a horse, which can be kind of a scary animal. But it seems to me, I'm just throwing that out, that there seems to be a relationship between deep trust and the ability to listen. But I wanted to share a quick story, which is Renee and I used to be part of a youth group called Pathfinders. And we would go on these different outings in nature. And we had this thing called the listening ring. And we would get in circles, and whoever was moved to speak would share something. But the one listening ring that I remember so vividly is we were in Yosemite, in a meadow in Yosemite Valley at dawn, having a listening ring with all these young children. And these deer came out of the forest and joined our listening ring. And we were all like just absolutely blown away.
That's beautiful, Cliff. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing it. It brought this teacher to me. I don't know if you can see him. This is Charlie. Hi. He says hi. And I actually used to say, I love animals. But I actually said the words, I know I'm going to spell it. I said the words, I'm not a CAT person. And we always had dogs. I did. It's lovable. Hello, Journey, right? So 3 years ago, he showed up 1 year old on our porch in an ice storm in Michigan. He was skinny, and he went right to my husband and rubbed on Ron's legs, and he got him some food, and he took him out to his bicycle den, he calls it, out back, because he knew what I had said. And he took me out back to see Charlie, and 3 years later, he has full roost of the whole place. He is in my classes. He's everywhere. I have learned so much about myself from this amazing, wise, patient, kind, and compassionate animal. And I remember one of the first mornings, I never had ever known a CIT. How could I possibly say I'm not a CIT person? And I remember one morning waking up when he was first in our house, and I woke up to this on my face, literally, and I'm not exaggerating. That's how he put his paw, the heel of it, no nails. He wanted food. And he very gently put his hand I went, wow. So I am also having constantly, in the last 2 years being home, we have a cabin up on a river, and I was sitting on this energy vibration. You're all sharing from cranial sacral to what we put out to nature. I was on the river. It's a really beautiful river. I'm on the dock on a phone talking to a girlfriend I hadn't spoken to for over a year about love and about the call for love right now. That's where we were at. And we were having this conversation. Over a year we hadn't spoken. And all of a sudden, I see coming from upriver this. I see wings spread out really low to the water. And I went, oh my gosh, Angel, I see a blue heron. The great blue heron is swimming. And then just as it got flying toward me, just as it got before our dock, it went right over my head, and it was a bald eagle. It was massive. I've never been that close to me. I was like, and we were talking about love, and it came right over me. And I'm talking about compassionate, big, fierce, divine love. And when it flew over me, then it went, and it flew up over the trees across the riverbank into, I know there's a nest over there. And after that, encounter with a turtle, encounter with deer. And I mean, it was just that day with that vibration and that ripple, the pebble rippling. Oh my gosh, nature just kept going, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Yes, you are a cat person. So yeah, thank you, Cliff. It's just, it's, and again, Ram Dass, and learning from the humor as well, the lightness as opposed to the heaviness. It can be so freeing and liberating and fun to celebrate that and see that. And that's health. I feel my cells like glistening. And Renee, it's 10 o'clock and I'm not asleep.
Neither are any of us. Oh, this is so wonderful, Winalee. You know, I want to tell you, I don't think that I have ever considered listening as such an incredibly important tool for healing before. I think this is the first time that I've ever truly been consciously aware of it. And I was thinking about how I've heard that when we are wide-eyed, we cannot feel aggression or anger. It just doesn't run through our system. And I can imagine that there's something like that when we are wide-eared, ears wide open, heart wide open, that kind of listening. It's really not possible to be violent. And as a result, great healing of the kind that so many of you have been describing, and certainly David talked about so profoundly in regard to the cranial sacral experience that he first received and has since shared with others. Listening can allow profound healing to happen. That is just revelatory. I can't thank you enough for sharing that with us. It's just very beautiful. And we're so grateful for all of you who joined us, and let's just do a little round of applause and thank you for Winalee, and to all of you too. Mwah.